Hello and welcome. This is NTA Tuesday Live and I'm Cyril Stober. Now, the 2016 flood alert warns that over 1 million hectares of land is at risk of flooding, with a potential impact on agriculture and the displacement of settlements. Now, more worrisome is that just about all the states of the Federation, precisely 34 states, which include Taraba, Benue, Niger, Kano, Kebbi, Lagos and Rivers, face the danger of flooding. There is apprehension, certainly. If you look back at the 2012 flood disaster in Nigeria that displaced over 1 million people, claimed lives and destroyed property running into billions of naira. That's including many farmlands. Now, the relevant agencies are already appealing to affected state governments to urgently relocate communities in the flood-prone areas to high grounds to prevent the loss of lives and a possible repeat of the 2012 experience. But how prepared is the country to avert a humanitarian crisis? What are the interventions in educating the populace on the risks of staying in flood-prone areas? Are there legislations on building shelters in flood-prone areas? Are there adequate provisions or alternative resettlement centers for victims? What is the approach to managing the environment to get it right? Now, these are some of the issues we'll be raising tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. But first, let's get to see this report by Mia Ugidi.
Taraba, Benue, Kogi, Plateau, Nasarawa, Kebbi, Edo, Delta, Anambra, Rivers, Bayelsa, Lagos, Sokoto, Kano and Adamawa are states on the table of high risk in the annual flood outlook by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, as well as the Nigerian Space Research and Development Agency. Less than 2 months of this forecast, states like Adamawa, Kano, Nasarawa, Sokoto and Kogi are recording huge human and material losses.
So we've been experiencing this type of flood year in, year out, most of the time the rainy season. But this time around, it has come frequently.
This is my first experience now to see such in Kano here.
For instance, Kano has recorded 7 deaths, Yola 3 and Nasarawa 6.
I went to buy drugs and we have been communicating with my wife. Suddenly, I can't get her again, but later learned of the flood.
A woman and a father and about 3 kids, they were lost up to now. They find one body down riverside. And the woman, up to now, they have now seen some of it now.
In the midst of all these lamentations, those who are still alive find it difficult on where to lay their heads as the flood has taken over their homes.
We don't know where coffee is. We don't know where to go.
I don't have money to build, and I don't know what government is doing about it. Or whatever we are hearing on the news is to move out. Move out. Don't go closer. Where are we going?
However, states like Kogi, Nasarawa and Benue still have the structures built for the victims in the 2012 flood to cater for this year's flood victims, while some states are still making efforts to relocate their victims to higher grounds.
You can see there are still houses that are prone and vulnerable to these problems. We will give certain setbacks. Any house that falls within the setback may have to be relocated. We will try to see what we could do to assist those occupants of those houses.
We have called the attention of all the traditional rulers to ensure that they identify areas where people can stay safely. We have called the attention of all the security men in case people want assistance here and there to be on alert. But certainly at the moment there is no dedicated area where it is cordoned and fenced and houses built for people to just move in.
How prepared are the humanitarian bodies to tackle this disaster in the country?
We all need to activate our mechanism to prepare for, prevent, against, reduce the risks, and respond to and to recover from any flood disaster we may be facing this year.
We already have enough of a humanitarian crisis in the northeast caused by the insurgents of Boko Haram, and we need to do whatever we can to avert another emergency.
As the clock kicks, so the water level is also rising, more people recounting their losses. Hence, federal, state and local governments must put in efforts to ensure that the victims are taken to higher grounds while the flood lasts. Mie Ogidi, NT News.
That report sets the tone for tonight's discussion. Let's start off by introducing our guest. We'd like to welcome to this program the Minister of State for Environment, Ibrahim Usman Jibril. Minister, thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Cyril.
We're also joined by Mr. Moses Oluwatoyin Beckley, Director General, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency. Mr. Beckley.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Nigeria.
Let me also welcome tonight Ahmed Ibrahim Inga, Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Well, with us here tonight is a regular face on this program, Al-Hassan Nuhu, who is Director Disaster Risk Reduction of NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
And let's also welcome tonight Anum Joseph, who is a farmer in Benue State, and he's been a victim of flooding. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right. As we always do on Tuesdays, we acquaint you with the process. At the appropriate time, you can get to join the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We encourage you to take advantage of them. However, for those who will be phoning in, make sure that when you get through, you turn down the volume of your TV. Just reduce the volume so that we'll avoid the hurlback or the echo. We also like to encourage those phoning in to just go straight to the point and not bother too much about all the greetings. Just go straight, make your point or ask a question, and I guess we'll willingly address such issues that you might raise. So once again, I'd like to welcome you to NTA Tuesday Live. Let's begin looking at the issues. And, well, if you think about what happened in 2012, then there's reason to worry. And so we've had the warnings, we've had the alerts. Maybe now we should begin to find out how prepared is the country. What's the state of preparedness for the likelihood of a disaster? Minister.
Thank you, Cyril, and good evening, Nigeria. The issue of flooding is a very serious national issue, and not only in Nigeria. Across the globe, you have cases of flooding. Just recently, in the United States, President Obama was seen visiting today in Louisiana to commiserate with victims of a flood that occurred in that country. So, in Nigeria, the warnings have come out early, right from the beginning of the year. And remember, I was in one of the programs, Good Morning Nigeria, early this year, and we talked about El Nino and the possibility of flooding occurring, just like we had in 2012. When you have flood, you have excess water. It could be from rainfall, and most likely will end up in streams and rivers, and they overflow the bank, and therefore come with ferocious velocity. It could be a flash flood. It could be a normal flood that will take over a period of time to come. The bottom line is that they cause destruction to life and property. So the best situation is, in the first place, it is a cross-cutting issue. It's not just one organization or one MDA. It has to do with right from the Federal Ministry of Environment, where there is a department in charge of this. There are other federal government organizations like NIMED and others, and the state government also have their own outfit. Information is critical. It is important for the federal agencies that are in charge of this responsibility to dish out information, and that they have done very well. It is also important for the state government, where these things will be happening, to be on top of the situation. I'm glad there is a state agency here, and just before this program started, in the background report, you've seen the governor of Nasarawa State visiting one of the flood-affected areas. We've had that issue in 2012. Government has a responsibility, and that responsibility is to cooperate with all people that are involved, all the stakeholders, the state government, the traditional institutions, the local government administration, wherever flood may occur, to be able to sensitize them, give them the necessary information, and prepare an evacuation plan. That I know we've been working closely with state government, and just last week we finished the National Council on Environment, which took place in Lafayette, Nasarawa State Capital. And after that council on Friday, we took a tour by helicopter along the bank of River Benue up to a town called Umaisha in Nasarawa State, and we saw the possibility, the real danger that is in that area. The problem we have is most of the time when you have cases where there is the possibility of flood, people are stubborn. They hardly want to move away, even if their life is at risk. And this gives a lot of problem. You need proper planning. You need proper monitoring. You need proper alignment to set back the building to ensure that there's proper enforcement of development planning regulation in such a way that people do not go near areas that are prone to this flooding. In most of the times, like the case that happened recently in Karu in Nasarawa State, people were virtually at the edge of the stream. And what further worsened the situation is you discover garbage collection that are dumped on the streams courses, on drainages, and when the rains come, of course, water will always find its own level. It clears the garbage and move on to do a lot of destruction. So what do? You need to sensitize people. It is a joint venture, like I said earlier on. All the emergency agencies, the meteorological services are involved in this. Information is critical. To be able to address this issue, you need to churn out information to people, collaborate with the state government, and make sure that they carry the fight to the grassroots so that people's life and property can be saved.
All right, thank you, Minister. But, well, Mr. Beckley, you've been in the forefront of churning out this much-needed information. And, yes, you have sensitized the public, but there are still areas where people think they might take these risks. Refresh us, if you will, about the real dangers. Just in case some people still think, well, these are just speculations.
Thank you very much, Brother Cyril. I want to explain some few things which I think is very important for our information. The location of Nigeria is such that it's next to the Atlantic. And the major river which flows in, which is the River Niger, starts from the Futa Jalon and the Guinea, and it's a mountain kind of thing, and so it flows down right into the inland delta in Mali and travels down to the middle of the Niger in Niamey, and then comes down to Jiderebudi, where we have our force station, and then right down to Lokoja, and then right there. And it travels about 4,200 kilometers, that distance. And it really contributes so much. Then, of course, from the Benue, which is about 1,600 kilometers from the Cameroons, that is a major tributary of the River Niger, along with other minor tributaries. And all of this contribute to the flow internally. Now, on the average, about 1,050 mm of precipitation is what we experience in the land, and 88 billion cubic meters of water flows from the outside, cumulatively from the Niger and the Benue. Internally, what is generated as runoff, it's about 244 billion cubic meters. That's quite a lot. At the end of the day, what is experienced is that about 100 billion cubic meters empties into the Atlantic through the Kwaibo, the Cross River, River Ose, and all of that. Now, yes, with fairly higher, like when NIMED came out with the seasonal rainfall prediction, it was predicted that, well, generally there will be early onset for most part. Now, today we can now see that as a result of climate variation, the El Nino, La Nino phenomenon, we've seen so much precipitation during this period, and the levels have been rising. And from our monitors outside, we understand that it is rising close to what, in fact, about a little higher than what we had in 2012 about this time. Right. Now, from our own stations within, the levels are higher now generally. Now, there is no doubt about this, that this information has really trickled down and people are already informed. Now, to take it from where my Honourable Minister stopped, yes, people are aware. And I keep on saying that this water, especially the excess water that flows and causes havoc, should be seen more as a blessing than as a curse. Now, because we are not going to have this rain the year round, there will be a time of stress. And so that informs the need for us to harness this water, harvest this water, for when there will be, the rain would have stopped. So that these same water that's in excess could recharge the groundwater system, which of course we'll always need when we extract water, when we drill the borehole. And this also could be used for even for hydropower generation. Now, efforts have been made by the federal government to construct some dams to control the flow of this water. Say from the Niger, River Niger, we know the Kainji, we know of the Jeba, of course the Shiroro, Dadinko and all of that, to control the flows of water. Otherwise, it will be seriously, the effect will be so serious as it comes downstream. Now, one should say here that along the Benue, no dams like what we have in the River Niger axis, and so that, of course, the Honourable Minister was talking about Umaisha there. Now, that is one axis, you know, because you have to appreciate this fact that the geomorphology of this country is such that we have some highlands which control or influence the flow of this rainwater down to the channels. And what is not helping the matter again is the fact that most of these channels are heavily silted. So the storage capacity have been reduced so much. So with little rain, you start having excess water runoff.
And so it takes just yes.
And so that's why those who are with this kind of reality, those who are along those floodplains should have left by now.
Okay. But then, as they say, it's not as easy as it seems if you're talking about relocation. But let's find out one state that is, you know, in the line of all this, and that's Niger State, and see what the approach is to this matter.
Good evening, Nigerians. Niger State, as a state, since its creation in 1976, we've been experiencing flooding year in, year out. But what we discovered is the gravity. The gravity of the flooding keep changing year in, year out. By 2012, what we experienced was alarming. And immediately after that season, the state government put in place a board resettlement system, which we identify about 10 to 11 relocation sites. But considering the capital-intensive nature of resettlement, we have to start gradually. We don't wait until when the flooding is coming. No, we are on it. We have identified hectares of land, plot them, build clinics, boreholes, but we have major challenge with the locals. Convincing them to move to the upper land, that is a major challenge we've been having. But in Niger State, we have 3 successful resettlement sites. We have one at Bajugo, in Ushishu local government, and we have one at the same Ushishu local government, Akari. They all relocated. So in that place, we don't have a problem. But if you go down to Muregi side, it's the first site we have. We have school there. Every facility required is there. But for the people to move to the site, it's a major problem we are facing. Considering the effort the state government put in place, when the Presidential Committee on Flooding of 2012 came around, they now donated 2-story building of hostel to augment what the state government have put in place. But as I'm talking to you, nobody is willing to move to that place. We've been on campaigns, move. You can lose everything, you can replace it. But when you lose a life, there's no replacement for it. But when you go, they'll tell you, this is where we've been for a very long time, we can't relocate. If you take us out from here, what do you want us to do? Then we've been having that challenge. Then we come back, we said, okay, fine. These people are posing a question that need an answer. We now come up with another thing again. That, okay, come, move here during rainy season. During dry season, you can go back for your economic or activities which you are familiar with. They said no.
Well, we'll look into so many other issues and find out what cultural factors and things that have, that influence the decisions. But again, let's stay with the relief agencies, NEMA, for instance. How prepared are we this time? Let's look, with the background of what happened in 2012.
Well, normally, when we receive these warnings from NISA, from NIMET, we bring together our stakeholders to digest it, to see the disaster management implication of those warnings. From there, we carry on with retreats. We've done a retreat in February on the application of the contingency plan. We have the plans, we test the plans, we pre-position materials in our 13 locations to be able to augment what the state government are going to do in the event of flooding. Flooding comes with loss of lives, damage to property, and displacement of people. And every displacement comes with a lot of consequences. People needing food, needing temporary shelter, needing medicaments. The contingency plan is supposed to ginger up all the sector leads who are part of the retreat to know the expected role they are to play and then to be prepared to play them. Not that in 2013, 2014, it did not rain. The rains were there also. Maybe not up to what we are experiencing now, not up to what we had in 2012. But the states are better prepared now than what they were in 2012. They've been monitoring the situation in collaboration with us better than 2012. Right now, as I'm talking to you, the water level in some of the states is at par with what obtains in 2012 already. But we don't have yet the kind of problem we have in 2012 because there is better synergy among the stakeholders now. The states are also more aware of what happened in 2012 and are bracing up for it. So we have our contingency plan, we have our contingency stockpile. The states also have their own. So in the event of what we are forecasting becomes a reality, NEMA is prepared to support the effort of the state government and other stakeholders to be able to provide the needed support for Nigerians.
All right, thank you. We'll look at so many other issues, but let's come to Anum Joseph. You're a farmer, and you have seen the reality of what we're talking about here. Tell us about your experience.
Thank you very much for the question. My experience since then has been traumatic. In 2012, it was quite distressing. I had to run from the water infested area to an upland where I could find shelter. It was provided for me by the government at the time.
It's the Benue State government, right?
The Benue State government were camped in a school, in a local government primary school. However, there were problems. When we left, or when I left, there was a lot of vandalization. There was also theft. People came in from the riverine areas with canoes to vandalize our property. We lost farmlands, rice, maize. Our fish ponds all went, the fish just went away. So there was much, it was really distressing. This year, because of the early warning, we have started evacuating from our present abode to safer areas. They were not provided by government, but because of what we experienced in 2012, we have started making arrangements for alternative places to find refuge.
Let me put this to you. You saw in the earlier reports we had before we started this discussion, one person in there saying, all we were heard is move, 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 move to where? And what do we do? What makes people remain in the face of impending disaster in places like that? Because you moved. You probably didn't have enough warning in 2012, or you did have enough warning. You moved, but not everyone moves. What is it that stops people? What are the challenges? Is it that you have this ancestral ties to a place? You say, this is our home, we can't live here. Or what is it? Or is it that adequate contingency plans are not made?
I will state particularly with the case with my own area.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an issue of ancestral home.
All right.
But the issue of how to relocate to the site that have been provided for them. You give a plot of land, you say, come get a plot of land. But the structures we built in such places, I think the case in Nigeria is a bit better. There they have built houses and the people are refusing to go. But in our case, you are offered just a parcel of land. With the structure you have here, you can't pull that structure to the new site you're offered. So how do you get there? Like, it was my last inning as a retired civil servant. It was my last inning that I had to build my place. Now, if you give me a new plot, how do I raise that similar structure there? So problems of economy come into play. You ask people to go to, if you build a place, I think in my own place, it would be a different situation. but it's not a matter of attaching themselves to because it's their ancestral home. It's more of how to build new places for themselves that is being a problem.
Well, Minister, you certainly have heard stories like these. As you prepare, as you put in place plans to avoid what happened before, what is the driving force as to address? I know it's, as you said, it's not just one agency or one ministry or department. It cuts across, particularly with the states. What are you saying to the states when you get together and look at the real dangers ahead?
Well, our take here is that when you look at the issue of flooding and the possibility of resettlement, in thinking and planning our resettlement, you have to look at so many factors. You have to look at the social consequences of resettlement. Like it or not, there are some emotional attachment to a person who has lived all his life in a particular location and suddenly he's finding himself being uprooted. He will resist it. You need to carry him along with you. Secondly, areas that are prone to flooding, mostly on the floodplain of rivers and streams, are areas that are always fertile. The fadamas around these areas, the soil there, the alluvial soil that are carried year in, year out, the sedimentation there are always very fertile. That's why you see farmers clinging to these areas because they get a lot of rice, they get a lot of corn, and they can farm even all year round because the area is dense. After the rain season harvest, with a little effort and more watering, they will get another season of another crop. So the temptation and the economic aspects is strong enough to be able to make people begin to forget about the dangers even when they see one coming. And this is not common to Nigeria alone. If you go to other parts of the world where there are volcanic eruptions, the volcanic ash coming from these areas are also fertile alluvial soil. So people will remain there despite sophisticated warning, they will still remain there until the last minute. You see people running away from the lava that is coming from the volcanic eruption. So in planning for resettlement, in order to evacuate people from areas liable to flooding, you have to look at the social consequences, you have to look at the economic aspect, particularly the soil fertility in this area that has enticed people and will continue to entice people to want to remain. The system Niger is trying to adopt is good. People can move in to a particular location. Once the warnings are there, they can move out to higher ground. Nowadays, there are modern sophisticated technology. The GIS can be used and you can map out areas that you know are liable to flooding up to certain contour levels. And therefore, you can be able to tell people where not to go at a particular point in time. So you need to give such information to the people. And some of these state governments have already put this thing in place. There are some that have the technology. Like if you go to Nasarawa State, they have what they call Nasarawa Geographic Information Service, and they have all the states mapped, so they know areas that can be liable to flooding. Niger is moving in that direction. They have an agency and they are building houses and moving people. But the bottom line remains that whatever you want to do with affected people, you have to remember that these are people that are already traumatized. So you have to look at their social aspect, you have to look at the economic aspect, and then you plan. You don't just sit down in the office and think you are a good planner or a good architect and you can just design for somebody without carrying along that person with you. He will resist. And that's what is happening most of the time. So a little advocacy, partnering with NGOs who are in this business and wanting to take care of people can go a long way to reduce some of these stresses and make whatever you want to plan a huge success.
Well, in some of these areas, you've been able to reduce because of the issue of damming. And it's been said that if Nigeria carried out consistently the damming of, those areas, you would, to a large extent, achieve what you talk about harvesting this water that can be used for. So what's standing in the way of that?
Well, very, very easily. It's most of the time fund is the issue. However, permit me to just veer a bit into what we just discussed earlier now. I think first and foremost, most of these people, like somebody pointed out when we were watching the screen the other time, that lack of funds, beyond not knowing where they could move to, lack of funds, money, because if you give them a land, even to build the structure will be an issue. Now, in some areas, yes, they are ready to move if the government can construct the structures not too far from their place of livelihood. Yeah. Now, I think some of these strategies should be, if put in place, would really help, will encourage the people enough to move. Now, I think these are the issues that the state governor should take into consideration, because these people have serious ties to where they're operating, and so to move them too far away might be difficult, you know. They might resist that, but close to that place would help. Now, back to this issue now of, yes, constructing reservoirs, which will help to impound this water and could help later. Now, there are different types of structures that could be put in place. One, the dams is capital intensive, yes, but there could be some smaller dams, artificial lakes, you know, that won't have the need for turbines, you know, like the artificial lake here in Jabi. You can see how useful it is now. And I'm sure that could be replicated in every local government area. And that will go a long way in checking this excess runoff. You can imagine if that Jabi Lake was not there, that would have, all the houses there in Kado area would have been in trouble. But because of that lake, which is not only serving to harness this water, house this water, but it is now recharging the groundwater, and of course you can see with the ShopRite, it's now attractive because the scenery is now beautiful, and then people want to do things around it. And if you do that, of course, you have to build trees around it to reduce evaporation. Now, like I said, this, if done in local governments where they can identify natural depressions that are large enough, they can route this excess water into such reservoirs, and that will really, really help. It could also be used for irrigation, you know, around the area. So I think a lot can be done in this area by the local government, by the state government, you know. Not now, I think the federal government is not ready to go into this serious dam construction now, especially in the state we find ourselves now. So I think if these state administrators can wake up to these responsibilities, it will really help the people. Like I told earlier, I was moving around Lokoja some time ago, and I discovered that with my awareness of what is coming down, you know, happily, Kainji and Jeba are still impounding, and for that reason, yes, much as we're expecting a lot of flow from outside, this would, you know, the awareness to help them to control, manage the reservoirs, the dams, to the extent that they won't just release water downstream that could be so disastrous. Now, that will help. On the other hand, we already have an MOU with the Cameroonian government, and so they will be very careful in releasing water from Lagdo, despite the fact that we do not have reservoirs along that axis. So, if all these are really taken into consideration by those who need to do what, I think it will really be helpful.
All right, the phone lines are open, and we have a call coming through from Lokoja. Ambrose is calling in. Ambrose, hello. Yes, Ambrose. Can we hear Ambrose? Or is it still on the line? It's calling in from Lokoja. Hello? Well, we really would have loved to hear from Lokoja because that was one place in 2012 that really saw a lot of devastation. And this time around, we're trying to look into what is happening in that axis. But again, different strokes, they say. Some parts, it's a question of not having structures, just giving a piece of land, and people are wondering what to do. While in places like Niger, they have it there, and they still don't want to move.
Well, yeah, we have some structures where people don't want to move. But I have said earlier, considering the capital-intensive nature of relocating people, in Niger State, about 30% of the total land mass were laid within the water bodies. So if you said you want to build earth dams, I want to believe you have to consider the amount involved with the current economic situation we are witnessing today. What we are doing when there's flood, we give them certain relief materials. We supervise and we advise them. Instead of you to take these materials back to the flood-prone areas, use it here at the upper land so that we can save cost, both the government and you, the users.
Okay. Let's see if we can get this call through from Zamfara. Samaila, who's calling in. Hello, Samaila. Hello, Samaila.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
I am Samaila Anka. Yeah, good evening, sir. Can you hear me?
Sure, go ahead.
I am Samaila Anka, calling from Zamfara State. I am really very much interested in this very discussion. That what I'm trying to emphasize here is that let us talk about. We look into seriously about those things that are the positive agents of the flooding. In most cases, most of the people that are attached to take an absolute responsibility of those issues are not discharging their jobs. Let me say issues that are related to engineering department. Location, that is to say, for somebody to come and plan a house, there are people that are given that responsibility to take care of the fact that that person that is involved does not come on the waterway and build his or her houses. So I think instead of us to be thinking of the fact that how can we kill, let us see how can we prevent those people that are building their houses on the waterway. This brought as a result of one either.
Oh dear. Well, we lost that call there, but he had started drawing attention to certain issues, how people locate structures. And that also is part of what contributes to the issue we're discussing today. Are there adequate legislations to take care of this? In other words, someone moves around and sees a place and decides, I'm setting up here.
Yeah, you see, what I want to say here is when it's talking of plan, building on waterways, I think we'll reduce that to the urban settlement. In the rural settlement, you can't just start that. Due to the capital-intensive nature of construction, if you go to rural areas, people don't need cement to build a house. You understand? If you are talking of plan construction, that is at the urban center. But at the rural center, somebody is looking for where to put his head. He built with mud, he cut grasses from the bush, he covered it, and he continued to live his life.
Let's hear from Maiduguri. Musa is calling in from Maiduguri. Hello, Musa.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I want to address the DG NEMA about enlightenment.
Oh dear. Well, the lines are pretty erratic tonight, but we hope the connections will improve as we go on, so we can take in more views and more comments regarding the topic. Yes. Well, this problem, the problem of controlled building, is noticeable only in the urban centers. In the rural areas, people just go on and set up their structures, and sometimes the structures are, in areas where there would certainly be high risks in the event of flooding. How do you address that?
Well, what we do in NEMA as part of disaster risk reduction, as the Honorable Minister rightly mentioned earlier, that the states need to have flood vulnerability mappings. Based on 2012 elevation, we have produced these maps and we have given them to the states, indicating flood-prone areas in their respective states and advising them to relocate people from these areas. That is DRR. By relocating them to safer ground, you'll be able to save lives, to save property, and also to save cost by way of damages. So those who have responsibility to ensure that buildings don't get erected in these flood-prone areas should live up to their responsibility. Okay. They should make sure that they don't allow buildings to erect at all. Even those that are there should be systematically moved to safer grounds.
Another call is coming through from Kano. Let's hope we can get this through. Kadri is calling in from Kano. Hello, Kadri.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Go ahead, Kadri.
Sorry, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, Cyril?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. Yes, go on.
You can hear me?
Yes, sure.
Good. The man from Niger, he claims there are challenges, but he didn't tell us what are the challenges. And in part of his speaking, he said this man in the village does not care about where the house is located. He just goes, so they just probably just went, build houses for the people in the bushes. They did not give the facilities that will guarantee the growth of the things they are doing in their farms. And that is why maybe they are not moving. Can you tell us, have they tried to investigate why these people are not moving? Because you said they have challenges. What are the challenges? Where are the people not moving? How can somebody have a better house, better environment, and not ready to move? So let's see the nails on the head. What are the challenges? Why are they not moving? Get the reasons out, and let's see so that we can study it here. The minister there spoke. He said why these people should move. When you are moving people, give them this facility so that they can go there and grow these things. Now you said you can build houses in the bush and people can move there. You think if the houses do not adopt the environment of the farmers, they will not move. So please, what are the challenges? Where are the farmers not ready to move to better houses, and and you have fertilizers to give them? Since you have poorer land now, you might have to give them facilities so that they can move. So please tell us, what are the challenges? We don't want to hear challenges. What are the challenges? Why are they not moving? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Kadri. And the Director General of the Niger State Emergency Management Agency heard you clearly. So,
yeah, Mr. Kadri and fellow Nigerians, We have challenges, and these challenges are attachment of the locals to their ancestral place of abode. When you tell them to move, they will tell you they can't move from here to another place. Two things are involved. Some of them are fishermen, some of them are farmers. If you move a fisherman to an upland, what will he be doing at the upland? The second part, the farmers. If you move them to an upland, maybe the neighboring community who offer the land for the resettlement may not want to offer a farmland to the people. You understand? And we have an issue where at the settlement side is offered, the people are now willing to move, but somehow some people are saying, okay, if you move, where do you farm? Where do you farm? So those are the challenges we're facing. It's not that we just go and erect building in the bush. We do this in consultation with the locals too. Even the land. For instance, issue of Kecho, NEMA came, we went to a place outside their own local government. Kecho is a local government in Mokwa, but where we're able to secure a place for them is in another local government.
Okay, we'll return to that in a moment, but earlier on Musa called in from Maiduguri. We lost the line. Musa is back online. Hello, Musa. Go ahead.
Hello, Green.
Yes, go ahead.
I was talking about the National Orientation Agency, which I was a staff and staff. We have in each 774 local government areas, we have staff, which means for enlightenment, the DG NEMA may collaborate with my DG, Dr. Abari, so that we can enlighten the people, because in each local government we have more than 5 to 7 staff, which I believe they can use to inform, enlighten, and educate the people on the dangers of flooding. In fact, we have had it in 1994, the Maiduguri flood disaster. I believe you can remember. We participated actively, and we were recommended by the government then. So I believe by using NOAA, who are having each of the 774 local government in the country, at least NEMA can use them to enlighten the public, and after all, our main objective is to enlighten government on the public on government policies, programs, and activities. I believe we can help in that area.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We'll just put it straight to the Director Risk Reduction of NEMA and also the DG of Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency. What's the level of collaboration? He's talked about making use of National Orientation Agency, which is on ground in all the local government areas.
Well, as I've said earlier, that this is a collaborative endeavor. No sector, no institution, no discipline, no resources can be ignored. NOAA has a potent weapon. They are rich, and we've been collaborating with NOAA. And when the situation is becoming gradually precarious, we held a meeting of Humanitarian Country Forum where all the stakeholders were invited, where it was stressed that these warnings are becoming real, and we need to work more in harmony to be able to achieve the desired result. Because you have to sensitize as much people as you can. And NOAA, with its reach, cannot be ignored. And we've been working with NOAA.
Okay, Mr. Beckley.
Thank you very much. NOAA is a key player in sensitizing the people on issues relating to flood. Now, I recall that when we had our annual flood outlook, 25th of July, they were available, and at that forum, they actually admitted that yes, we always send our alerts to them, which we, apart from the annual flood outlook, including the periodical, in fact weekly forecast that we do, we send to NOAA and to other sister agencies like NEMA, NIMED, and all of that, so NOAA will now send it down to their representatives at the state level that will now trickle this down to the rural communities. So this is to tell us that we have been collaborating with them very, very actively. Now, as we're discussing, some other issues came on, and I think I should mention this. Now, the issue of structure is very, very important in preventing flooding. I mentioned earlier the artificial lakes and all that, but I'll tell you this, that along the river banks, after enforcing the people not to go too close, now, at a very safe distance, there should be some barriers that could prevent the flow of water to inland. Now, I recall an incident. I went to Zaria when there was a flood there, and trying to find out the cause of that flood, we discovered that now the river Galma that was flowing into that community, somewhere down the line, the people now have built, a structure to prevent or reduce the flow of that river. Of course, there'll be a backlash. Now, to make it worse, they were building too close to the bank. And these are things that should be prevented. And if they have to build close to the bank at all, they should keep some safe distance, and the state government should ensure that, or the people in the community, ensure that there's a barrier of about, if you like, this height, or a little high, 3 to 5, or say 2 meters or thereabout, will really, really help. So I think there have been lack of sufficient structures, drainage systems, to prevent flooding in our communities.
And this is one area we'll go into when we return after this short break. We'll also find out from Anum Joseph what he has had to do this time around, and if there are provisions to take care of the issue of not having farmland when you have been moved, relocated to somewhere else. Stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel.
Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajugbe movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying with us. We're talking about stemming an impending disaster. If it does happen, how prepared to make sure we do not go down the same path as in 2012, which led to loss of lives and property. But we return to one who has experienced the dangers of flooding. And it was mentioned on this program before we took a break that when you move people, what do they have access to? You just told us about your experience. You said in some cases people are moved and other people come around and loot their property, vandalize things they have there. In your case, did you have an alternative land to farm on?
Not at all. I did not have any alternative land after that. I was waiting for the flood to finish before I come back. When I was pulled out of the place, it was only for me to have a safe place to lay my head. That time. So it was until after the flood receded that I came back to begin my farm activities.
So what did you do for sustenance? Did you get some kind of relief from agencies of government or from?
The relief was there. There was relief. I'm afraid that didn't reach us properly. The relief in 2012 for one, which was sent to people like me, got carted away, and at the end of it, the school where these relief materials were stored was set ablaze, and we couldn't get anything. That's what happened in 2012. So it was unfortunate that we didn't just, we were not properly cared for. That is the experience we had, a very sad one.
All right, let me put this to NEMA. It's we heard reports of so many interventions that were made, especially in 2012, and we had allegations like this or reports like this saying that either those materials went somewhere else, the funds provided for relief went somewhere else, and even the structures that were put up to relocate people, that they went to people who were not the real victims of those disasters.
Well, as for what happened in 2012, as for the monies that were given to state governments, it was given to state governments to use it to provide succor to those who are affected. NEMA on its own provided relief assistance to almost all the states affected. We provide our own to complement what the state government has produced. And we didn't receive any report of vandalization of our own materials.
But you did hear of reports of diversions from other places, not your own materials.
Not at all. We have not received report of diversion of materials for the victims of flooding. No, we have not received that. And what we did, as I tell you, is a system that flows from Abuja down to the community level. Federal government gives its own support.
Yes.
The state government provides its own support. And as a matter of responsibility, the state government is supposed to identify and set off the temporary shelter. And then the community also has its own role to play at the local government level. We have not received any report of diversion of materials, and as much as possible, we have provided assistance to all the states affected in 2012. And we are pre-positioned now. We have pre-positioned materials also to be able to help in case of in case of recurrence of flooding in 2016.
Somehow we might just ask this. It's a collaborative effort. It involves agencies from federal authorities and states as well as local governments. But surely there is a coordinator. Who coordinates?
NEMA coordinates at the center. We coordinate federal ministries, departments, and agencies at the center. The state SEMA coordinates states, ministries, departments, and agencies. And the local government emergency management committees.
So it's possible that,
coordinates local government departments and community neighborhoods.
Okay. You know, I'm asking this because it means it's quite possible certain things might be happening at a level lower than the federal.
And again, and we are supposed to, we are not responding to every flood disaster.
Okay.
We respond to flood disaster that is beyond the capability of the state to handle.
But every state would certainly say to you, this is beyond us. I'm yet to see any issue in any state that the people haven't come out and appealed to the federal government for assistance. But we'll come to that, and we'll involve the Honorable Minister at this stage. But let's hear from someone from Niger State. Haruna is calling in. Hello, Haruna. Do we still have Haruna calling in from Niger? Hello, Haruna.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go on.
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Haruna, read my lips. We can hear you. You
Yes,
see
I'm
me
hearing
nodding.
you.
Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I think one of the challenges, one of the challenges, I think, yes. Okay, one of the challenges I believe the most of the states are facing in terms of flood disaster. I think a state where you have most of the communities, almost about like 80 to 100. Now the state government don't have the capacity to relocate some of those communities, considering the financial that is involved. Now, even if at all you want to locate them, they should have they assessed how much are they going to spend for them to locate a single village? It's very difficult. So the federal government needs to come to their aid to make sure that the state should assess the area that are prone to flood disasters.
All right.
So the most important thing, let the federal government come to their aid in terms of relocation of some of those communities, and that's the major problem. State don't have the financial capacity.
Okay, Haruna. If you can hear me, Haruna.
Thank you.
How would you assess the situation in Niger State, for instance? We have the DG of the State Emergency Management Agency here. How would you assess what's on ground, the response of the Niger State government to this issue? Oh, well. Well, Haruna has dropped there. I would have loved to have heard from him. Well, Minister, this is what we have been saying. As I said earlier on, there's hardly any state in the Federation that does not call out to the federal government. I have seen sometimes flooding in just about 2 streets in some states, and the next thing you hear, this is beyond the state. We need the federal government. So how does the federal government respond to these appeals for help?
Well, it's responsibility of government to cater for its people. So, in as much as things are happening all over the country, the fact that it's happening in a state, after all, one of my colleagues recently said there is no federal Nigerian. Every Nigerian has a state. So the fact that we are at the federal level does not mean that we cannot look at what is going on in the state. Even if we cannot offer something materially, at least we can offer technical support. And that is critical, that's important. We can help build a capacity, like the Niger State Emergency Service and many other states that are having this in. We can help them with capacity building. You can help link them with multilateral organization or bilateral. There are other development agencies all over the world that are anxious to come in and help. All you need to do is to give them a game plan, and they know exactly what you are after, and they come in and assist. So this type of cooperation is critical and is important. You need to know where these things are located, so that you can be able to point it out for them to pursue and take advantage of what is available on the ground. Let me go back memory lane. Flooding has been a recurring decimal. I remember on the 17th of August 1988, Bagauda Dam in Kano State busted and overflooded its bank. That dam was constructed with a carrying capacity of 22 million cubic liters of water. At the time, I remember I was in Kano. It took about 5 days of torrential rainfall, and by the time that dam busted, it had carried excess of about 146 million liters, cubic liters of water. So it was not a surprising thing that that thing busted. When you have such a huge quantity of body of water and it suddenly breaks, the velocity within which it moves is alarming. So you not all, I know Jos Road, it cannot Jos Road was washed away completely at that time, and a lot of farmlands, millions of hectares, were completely washed away. And that is the most productive part of the soil, and that farmland is lost. So when you look at areas to contain flooding, you talk about catchment areas, you talk about damming some of these areas, you talk about creating levees and retaining walls to try to stop the flooding. While you are doing that, you must also remember maintenance of these structures. If you put the dam, then you have to take care of the maintenance on a daily, monthly, and yearly basis. Otherwise, you run the risk of getting it broken. I remember even in FCT here, there was a time excess water was released from Lower Usuma Dam. There is a spillway quite all right that takes care of, in the event of excess water, you open the spillway. But in doing that, you have to warn people downstream to beware that we are going to release water and therefore clear away from this thing. But a lot of the time, when people build, and this is in urban centers now, clearly if you release water from Lower Usuma, it goes through Kuba up to the airport and Gwagwalada area. So people living along that area must be sensitized to be careful and to move away from the area that may likely be liable to flooding. In urban centers, most of the flooding activities come as a result of poor planning, blockages of drainages, and the lack of drainages in a lot of cases. Where the drainages are there, they are blocked because the garbage is not taken care of. It's a big problem, wastages that are not taken away. So the state government has a responsibility to have a strong planning team, planning regulations, and then this planning will not work in isolation. They have to link up with NEMA, they have to link up with the state emergency agency like the one in Niger State. Together, it is a cross-cutting issue, it is multi-sectoral, and all must put their hands on deck to be able to adopt a holistic approach towards mitigating this disaster.
Well, we have Haruna has called back. Haruna, who called in a while ago from Niger State, is back on the line. Haruna, if you can hear me, I had wanted you to assess the response of the Niger State government to this issue. Since you're on ground there, tell us what you see.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Yes, so how do you assess the response?
Okay, the state government on their own part, in terms of relief material, the state government is doing wonderfully very well. Since the inception of this administration, in fact, the state government has never been anywhere
Okay. Are you still with us?
And the most important thing again that they are doing, immediately there's any information anywhere, the NEMA, the SEMA is quickly respond to such areas where they will be able to rescue the victim. So in that area, they are doing wonderfully very well. But in terms of relocation, and in terms of relocation, the state government don't have the capacity to relocate some of these villages. And Moregi and Kecho that the DG mentioned, Moregi has almost about 1,000 people living in the Moregi. Okay, now, how will the Moregi people tell the people now who move to the area where they have only 2 or 3 structures? So the federal government has the responsibility to support the state, even if they are going to locate some of these villages face by face.
All right, Haruna.
In Keto, that he mentioned, Keto, where they have a state for Keto, is in the local government. And in the local government, you have to now acquire that land. And at the same time, the population of Keso is almost at 1,000.
Okay. All right. So how do you cope with this?
Mr. Cyril, I think I have to give some clarification
Right.
here. I have heard Mr. Haruna very well. Yeah, I didn't said Keso were relocated. I said we have a situation in Keso where you don't even have a place to relocate them within their own local government. You have to look elsewhere in another local government. And Keso, if there's any emergency situation, this most safer haven for them is through Kwara State. And as I'm talking to you now, if you say you are going to Keso, it's another thing. I quite agree with him 100% that the state government doesn't have funds to move into relocations issue. So we need federal government intervention. And that is why I want to make this call. The National Assembly and Mr. President, as a matter of urgency, to commission Hyperdeck. It has been signed into law since 2010, and this is 2016. The agency has not been commissioned. I want to appeal to the National Assembly and Mr. President as a matter of urgency to commission hyperdeck. I think if we have hyperdeck in place, we have a lot of solution to some of our problems.
Well, hyperdeck in the hydro power development agency.
You see, recently my governor was chairing a committee of the state affected under this hyperdeck. And we are even calling for 13%.
So how do you think this will mitigate these challenges?
The
commission hyperdeck in place, how would it mitigate these challenges you face today?
Because the scarce of resources. We have more resources if it's a commission. If the agency is commissioned, we have more resources to embark on resettlement and other things.
Again, it brings back the issue of access to resources, funds. A situation where we've heard talk about whole villages having been submerged and populations having to be moved to other areas, and sometimes, like what he has cited, for instance, you would even need to go through another state in order to find where to relocate people. And, well, in a situation where you have 10, 15 states facing this same scenario, what do you do?
Well, it becomes a national emergency, and in that respect, the federal government is duty-bound to find the resources to collaborate with the state government and set up a machinery that will lead to alleviating the suffering of the people, because that is the primary responsibility of every government, to take care of its people. But I still have my reservation that state government will have to rely entirely on the state government. There are certain things that the state government can handle. Just like you said earlier on, you've seen cases where just a flooding in a street or two, and people are calling on the federal government. Yes, it's normal for people to call on the big daddy to come forward and rescue them. But it doesn't mean that a big brother by the side would not be able to do something. It is a matter of prioritizing your things. If you have an emergency in hand, it becomes real emergency, and you have to prioritize your needs. And in doing that, you have to reorder your priorities and find out what to do to save the life of these people that are already vulnerable. My brother here, who has lost his farmland and means of livelihood, is a great pity. And such a thing should not be allowed to happen. But from the process of initiating a policy and getting it to be implemented, certain things do happen. And there are certain things you don't have absolute control over. But I believe the bottom line is active collaboration and cooperation between the federal, the state, and even the local government that are almost becoming non-existent now. But I think you can bring them back to life, and you can get them involved, even if it means doing the footwork. They may not provide the financing, but they can provide the technical support. They know the terrain, they know the people they are dealing with, and along with federal government agencies like NOAA, NEMA, and others, you can come back together, leverage on whatever resources that is available, and work towards alleviating the suffering of these people. I think the spirit of collaboration and cooperation should be the most important thing that will drive this process forward.
Right, let's say we have a call from Port Harcourt. Donatus from Port Harcourt. Hello, Donatus.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Donatus, go on.
Okay. I am Mr. Donatus. I wanted to contribute concerning the floods that have been rendered some people homeless. So the question I wanted to ask is that what federal government is doing, or what efforts have they made to see how they can relocate people that have been affected in that zone? What help have they rendered to them? That's number one. Number two, I want to cite an example. The example I wanted to cite is that during the time of Obasanjo, something happened in there. I don't want to go into details. But when Jonathan came in, Jonathan cited an example. Jonathan do what? Jonathan took a time, those that lost their life or lost their property, as of them, he paid them, or even up to now, he compensated them in a very mighty way. Now, last time that the flood came in Bayelsa, nothing was done. Even if it is not people from churches, like Salvation Ministry, OTN, these are the people that look at those who have been affected by flood. So, government is not, in fact, I can say that government is not a helping matter in this situation. And besides, this is supposed to be their responsibility. And if it's not happy, it's not good. Mr. President should look into it. I pity those that have lost their life for this. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Donatus. Easily the Minister would respond to the second part of your question, because the first part, of course, has been what has been talking about all evening, Minister.
Well, if there are emergency cases, an official report has to be made through the proper channel, and then the federal government will take a decision through its agencies. And in this case, I will be talking about NEMA, and I know the director is here. He has been talking about what they have been doing in other areas where they have intervened. So I have no doubt in my mind that there is a machinery in place that can take care of this situation. I don't know the flood or the disaster that happened that he's talking about in Bayelsa, so I'm not in a good position to actually comment on what I don't know. But I believe if an official report is made and it's seen to be something that can be taken care of, definitely the federal government will react through NEMA and take care of the situation. But I don't know whether the director is aware of that.
Well, if he is talking with respect to 2012 flood, it has been, we have responded to it. And if it is a recent occurrence, we have a zonal office in Port Harcourt. And I believe if they have the report, and if it is in the magnitude that the state government, the federal government should support, we must have supported in that respect. And in what is his question on what the federal government is doing in terms of relocation, as I've said, we have notified all the affected states of the flood vulnerable areas, the areas that need to be evacuated. And whenever NEMA provides intervention, it provides two forms of intervention. We give food, non-food items, and other basic necessities for immediate support. Then it follows with building materials like cement, roofing sheets, nails, wood, to support in rebuilding of their own houses. So government support the effort of the state government. We also encourage the states to use their own capacity. If we identify local capacity, we use it. If you don't use local capacity, it winds away. So we support what they are doing, and we encourage them also to use their own capacity while it's in existence.
If I might just stay with you for a while, there are fears that even now some IDP camps are in areas where flooding might affect. Now, is that true?
That cannot happen.
Okay.
Yes, because the first thing we tell states is to identify safer ground where an IDP camp can be established.
There
is no way.
So there are no worries about that.
No worries about the possibility of an IDP camp being flooded.
No. Okay. Now, it's been identified that these are issues to do with nature, El Nino, like the DG Hydrological Services Agency said. But there are also man-made activities which have either led to flooding or have exacerbated the situation. And this is where I want us to talk about at this time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brastil. The issue of relief, you know, it appears to be a kind of a curse more than a blessing. The reason being this, that because of the way the federal government reacted by way of providing relief to people who are affected by flooding in 2012, do you know that some people deliberately now build very close so that they can easily be affected by flooding to attract relief? It's really unfortunate. However, I know that if little preventive measures are taken, like I said earlier, it will really go a long, long way in preventing flooding. This water we need. And right now, the practice globally is that we should learn to live with this water. Now, if you go abroad, for example, you see how through trenches, for example, they route the water right into the middle of the city, you know, similar to what we have here. And that is the way the excess water, and then make sure that adequate drainage systems are in place and they are not blocked at all. They must be adequate. But unfortunately, what we have here is that, one, so many things are wrong. People go and build too close to where they shouldn't build. One. Two, in some cases, there are no, take the case of Abuja, for example. Here in Abuja, you hardly experience flooding because everything is well planned. Good drainage systems, and to the extent that places that are meant to be green areas where structures will not be built so that there could be some infiltration when it rains. Because the moment if there's serious urbanization and you cover all the surface, then of course, and you don't have enough drainage, then the water will not infiltrate, and that could cause. Therefore, if you have adequate drainage system in any community at all, after people have respected the space of these water courses, then of course, then again, barriers or levees are constructed where they should be constructed. In other words, if our environment are taken care of, we are supposed to take care of the environment. Do what we have to do so that we don't invite any disastrous consequence. So, you remember days gone by when we used to have these monthly environmental sanitation, where people will be compelled to come out and clear the drainage systems. Well, I don't think it's a common practice again.
It's going to come back, I think.
Right. So because
there are people who would argue about that and say, in this day and age, you shut down a whole state.
Interestingly, in Kuje, I was just from 2 days ago, I saw that they were trying to now construct drainage system where they should have already there are structures, buildings on both sides of the road. They did one, they didn't do the other one, and with all these warnings, I think they now confident they should do the right thing so that they can accommodate this.
All right. Let's try to get this call in from Ibadan. Solomon is calling in from Ibadan. Hello, Solomon.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Nice to see you this morning. What I want to do is just to sensitize the state government about approving land to people in the flood-prone areas. If you look at Lokoja, Benue,
Oh yeah, we lost that. Yes.
Yeah, I want to say something in respect of what you just said, issue of drainage system. If you come to Niger State, particularly the state capital now, the state governor is doing wonderfully well because he is putting more of the drainage system that have been abandoned for a very long period of time. And because of that, people close to that place experience some splash of flooding. But thank God now the drainage system is near completion. And if one, that anybody caught putting refuse on waterways, he will be punished. And I think we are getting serious result on that. So if other states can key into that, I think issue of flooding will be minimized to a barest minimum.
Okay. I also had an occasion to speak to my governor on such a forum like this. I was informing him of the area I reside in. There are two adjoining streams. They are seasonal though, but they are the cause of our problem in Kuchotebe community. And the Gado Villa, Kuchotebe, and the University Teaching Hospital. These places get flooded every now and then. There's flood. So I told him the problem with those two streams is just silting. They are silted. If government can just use in the dry season any caterpillar to deepen them, the problem of that area is done with. There will be no flooding because we are 1.5 kilometers away from the river. But the adjoining streams to the area is what has been the problem. I want to also say that the issue of care of the displaced people. In 2012, there was money sent to the state. In Benue State, there was about 500 million sent to the state. Unfortunately, the money could not get, though they evaluated all the houses after the flood. And that was the end. The money we were told was going to be used for the establishment of schools. And up till now, there's no school in our community. We were also told that it will go to those people who were big-time farmers that were affected by flood. So our present governor and the uncle of the past governor were the people who had the share of that money, and it all went. Nothing came to people like us. So that's the aspect. I think I am trying to say that it's the political will. If it's there, of course, like the Honorable Minister is saying, it will take care of much of these problems.
Yeah, Uncle Siri, it may differ from state to state.
Right.
In case of my own state, before Mr. Governor grant you any approval, you must come with detail of what you intend to do. And he made it clear that we are not going to deal with third party. We deal with the victims direct.
Direct, okay.
No third party.
Okay. Let's just quickly go back to Ibadan, because Solomon has called back. Hello, Solomon. Go ahead. We hope this time the line will be through.
You see, those areas where there are flood rules, the state government should no longer approve land for them in that area again. That's number one. Secondly, those that have gained their way, that have erected structures, especially in Lokoja, Benue, and not the area where the water passes through, they should be relocated because I study water resources management and I know the current effect of flood. And flood will not inform you when it's coming. It's only the specialists that we have the knowledge of when the flood is coming. And when flood comes, it's disastrous. There's no remedy. They should be relocated uphill the scene so that we will not lose lives here. If you are traveling to Abuja, you are passing through that bridge, you will see them. They are risking their lives. If the water just touch in, they will find it so difficult to gain any life there. And I want to appreciate our president. He's making frantic efforts to put things right. God will protect Baba Buhari for us. He should relocate those people, get out for them. We don't want to lose anybody into this state and some other flood-prone areas. And the state government should cooperate. They should not allocate land to people in flood-prone areas. Water is good and it can be dangerous as well.
All right. So thank you very much, Solomon. Well, still on certain human factors that have also led to the question of flooding. And Minister of State for Environment is here. How do we begin to take care of our environment?
Environment is something that you must, I repeat, must care about. Otherwise, if you ignore it, you do it at your own peril. Let me start with urban areas where you have a lot of population residing in these urban areas. If you look at most of the townships, a lot of people are living in these areas. There are challenges of planning. Most of the planning departments, apart from probably Lagos and Abuja, where you have strict planning regulations that have been enforced, and other areas you seem to have a shadow of what ought to be there. And if you don't plan the environment well, then you are causing disaster. What causes flooding in most of the urban centers are, one, the lack of drainage facilities. Where the drainages are there, they are inadequate. In some cases, the drainages are blocked because there is no good system of garbage collection. So garbages are dumped either at the middle of the road or on the drainages. And this is a recipe to disaster. And in a lot of cases we have seen where flooding takes place is because these channels are blocked. So in the first place, the water will swell and swell in one place, and at the end of the day, it will burst out, and anything can happen at that point in time. So the first thing to do about the environment is to make sure that there is a good and efficient system of garbage collection, which is lacking in most townships now. Even Abuja, where it is seen to be a model, the AEPB has challenges. Recently, my colleague, the minister, had to make some changes in order to strengthen the outfit to be able to live up to the task set for it. So you must look at the planning component and prepare the areas. If you want people not to dump, you have to provide the bin for them. And if you provide the bin, you can't leave it for a day or two without picking. Because if somebody has a bin in front of his house, then you must have a vehicle that will come on a regular basis to convey this bin to the dump site. If you don't do that, and the bins overspill, chances are that people will want to pick it and go and dump it probably on a drain. Fortunately, most of the drains in the city in Abuja here are covered. But all the same, people will find a way to dump their garbage. So you must have an effective and efficient system of collection. And that means people may have to pay, because these services are not cheap and therefore cannot be free. You have to put the mechanism. Abuja Environmental Protection Board has a system where you pay for garbage collection. You have a bin, they come and pick it and take it. The contractors take it to the dump site. you must take care of that. You must make sure that your drains are always clean in such a way that they don't get blocked that will lead to flooding. And you must provide adequate drain channels. If you have huge volume of water and the drains are small, it will overspill to the road and subsequently to the houses. We've not had serious cases in the city here because of the good planning that the director has mentioned earlier on. But it's not the same with other parts of the, just go across Nasarawa State or Suleja in Niger State here, you see what I'm talking about. Right. The garbage collection is a major issue. We have to address this issue because it's part of the environmental sanitation, and to have a sustainable environment, you must have to make it clean. So we have to do a lot of advocacy to get people to key into this so that at the end of the day, they know it is going beyond the monthly sanitation. You don't do sanitation on a monthly basis. You can't keep your house dirty until at the end of the month before you can clean it. It has to be a daily affair. Right. So you must imbibe that spirit in people. You must sensitize people. They have to own up to it. They have to know that living in a clean environment means their health is important. So they must know this. And fortunately, in the federal ministry, we are engaging a lot of NGOs who are involved with environment. We're talking about recycling of garbage. We're talking about solid waste management and how we can recycle, particularly the ubiquitous leather bag, the sachet water, popularly known as pure water that you drink and just dump anywhere. People must understand that these things that are not biodegradable cause a lot of havoc to the environment. So we must be sure that we've gotten people to key into the concept of living in a sustainable environment, a clean environment, because of our health depend on it before we can start putting certain things in place. Until you sensitize people and get them to own up to that and make it their own personal issue, you cannot go far. And I believe with our new narration in the Ministry of Environment, we are turning around advocacy, dealing with NGOs, and social advocate and so on. And we're engaging even the young people in the social media to make sure that they know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why they should also do it.
And it's the advocacy that we harp on. As people would say, it's a lot better not to have the disasters than to have Al-Hassan coming to provide relief. So how about with the advocacy?
Yeah, the advocacy, as the Honorable Minister said, is it. You have to reach people whose words and action matter. They appeal on your behalf sometimes. You have to create the necessary awareness. And then more importantly also, you have to build the capacity of responsible authorities and communities at risk to be able to know what these warnings are all about, and to be able to react to them.
And building the capacity of the communities are like, well, once bitten, they say twice shy. What are you doing differently now that you've heard all these alerts? I mean, not just you, but your community.
Well, we tend to, at the end of the dry season, at the end of the flood, maybe get some of the drainages constructed, because our place particularly is lacking in terms of drainages. They are not there. There are no gutters. There are no roads. They just left. The structures are just built like that without good drainages and roads. So it's really prone to flooding. And so we said, okay, at the end of the flood, maybe if the economy improve, we begin to tax ourselves to
self-help,
to assist ourselves. Otherwise, it's getting bad. It's getting truly bad.
Well, Mr. Beckley, some of these things you can't do anything about. Climate change, factors that you can't control. But then, you have given us the outlook. And some might say, well, it just might not happen like it did before. even though we would like to say that we're more prepared for this time around. What do you see?
Yeah, I will share the thoughts of my brother here from NEMA, that because of the awareness and sensitization, you know, over this period, and more so with the experience of 2012, a good number of people are responding positively.
Right.
Well, it's just that a lot still need to be done. We can't stop the rains. The weather will keep on doing its thing. But that is beyond our control. But it is for us, whichever way, whatever happens, it is for us. We are duty bound to take care of our environment. Now, we were talking about dredging now. A lot of these channels, both major and minor channels, are silted. The minor ones can easily be dredged, even by local communities, to help the flow of water. And you had him there that there are no drainage systems where he even says. Meanwhile, there are structures there. Tell me, if you have any serious rain falling there, they are very seriously prone to flooding. So, but if these little things can be taken, you don't need the federal government to come and help you do a drainage system in front of the place. It doesn't take the federal government to come and say, look, guys, let us try and dredge that small channel that, you know, runs through your community. I think, and that's why the federal government's wisdom created the different tiers of government. The local government, which is very close to the grassroots, take care of some of these basic things. Then the state government, where that is beyond their capacity to help out. And when, of course, it is beyond the state government, the federal government now can come in. So I think if there is this collaborative,
it will work out.
It will work out, isn't it?
I really want to use this opportunity to appeal to Honorable Minister here to please, matter of urgency, if he can have time to visit Niger. We have a particular case in Keso. In Keso, the issue we have there, the river bank, year in, year out, keep falling. If we can have the intervention of federal government, because if you go to there, if you see the rate at which that thing happen every year, is beyond Niger State.
Right.
So we want the federal government to come, look at it. How can they help us? Because if that thing is put in place, I'm sure Keso community will give a 50% relief from flooding situation.
All right. Well, you've got the Minister of State for Environment here, and you'd have all the time.
And another
immediately after this program.
In reality,
to
Niger is not a new place. The minister was there early June.
Right.
She visited Rafi local government, I think, Sikira community, where there was lead poisoning. She was there live, and as a result of that visit, remediation effort has been going on there for the past 2 months. So we'll listen to you, we will look at it, and we will give it a sympathetic hearing. To add to what the Director General was talking about, issue of this climate change. We may not be able to alter some of the things, but we should understand that certain bad practices, certain bad land management practices are contributing factors. In this country, we have just about 5% forest cover, which is way, way below the global standard. We cut more than 1.5 million trees daily, and that's a huge problem. We're shaving our head, and the more you leave the soil exposed, the greater the chances of runoff and gully erosions, which is a big problem. Okay. So we can do a lot better if we plant more trees. If you cut one, you plant 10. In the FCT, if you are given a building plan approval to go and build your house, you must plant at least 6 trees. It is stated in the letter giving you the approval.
Okay.
So planting of trees go hand in helping to mitigate climate action, and we need to sensitize people also in that respect so that we can avoid the dangers of excessive runoff that can lead to flooding.
Okay. And it is on that note we'll have to leave it here tonight.
Yes,
quickly,
I want to make a passionate appeal to my minister.
All right.
The case in Benue State, we have Agatu, Gwe West, Makudi, Guma, and Buruku flooded every year.
Okay.
So there was a contract I had from this very forum that was awarded in 2015.
Okay.
426 billion to dredge the river Benue. Let that be done, sir.
Okay.
Probably you are talking about ecological fund, which is in the office of the Secretary of Government.
Okay.
But the governor was in our office, and the minister and I saw him about 3 weeks ago, and we promised him that we were going to visit Benue State. So we will come and, by the grace of God, see what we can do about it.
Thank you, sir.
And it is on that note we'll have to leave this discussion and say thank you to all our guests. And I'd like to say a big thank you to the Honorable Minister of State Environment, Ibrahim Usman Jibril. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Cyril.
Okay. Mr. Moses Beckley, Director General, Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency, we thank you.
A pleasure.
And Ahmed Ibrahim Inga, Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, thank you. Disasters for a while now. Yes. And of course, Al-Hassan Nuhu, Director Disaster Risk Reduction of NEMA, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And for Anum Joseph, coming from Benue State, we say thank you for coming and stay safe.
Thank you for hosting me.
Right. Thank you. And also to all of you who took part in this program, we thank you. Next week we'll reach you again on NTA Tuesday Live. I'm Cyril Stover. Bye for now.